Okay, everyone, welcome to the encore webinar of the new coach's marketing map to a six-figure business. And um, I am excited to share this information with you. I also want to honor you for showing up today. I know there's all kinds of other things that you could be doing. And if you don't know who I am, there's a picture. You should be seeing my screen. Can you guys see my screen okay? Can you just raise your hand if you're seeing my screen with this wonderful picture uh, of a begoggled. Anyway, I will stop my self judgments there. But yeah, I appreciate and am honored by you being on the webinar. Congratulations for attending. I know there's all kinds of other things you could be doing, and my intention is to give you really as much as I can if you are a new coach, or if you're a new coach but you're not getting what you want, or you are just thinking about becoming a coach, a life coach, a business coach, what have you, then this webinar is really for you. And what this will do for you is over the next little bit of time that we have on tonight's presentation, I'm going to be teaching some of the content that's directly from a lot of my highest level trainings to help you build not only a lucrative and fulfilling business, but a fun coaching business, even if you don't have a business yet, even if you're starting completely from scratch. And actually, if you are starting from scratch, sometimes that's better than if you've been in the game a long time or a little bit of time, but you've kind of bumped your head against the wall, or maybe you've made some mistakes and so forth. A lot of times it really helps for us to have a clean slate. So if you're literally brand new in the game, sometimes that will work to your advantage. And here's my intention for the webinar today. First of all, I'm not going to overwhelm you with all kinds of confusing information, tactical stuff of how to market this and how to market that. My experience is that just, confuses people. And the confused mind doesn't act, right? So I don't want you to be stuck in a state of confusion. I want you to have some foundational concepts. So what I'll be teaching is really the 11 foundational concepts. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into those that, in my experience, are absolutely 100% critical to the long-term sustainability of your business, not just short-term success. There's lots of things you can do to come out of the gate quickly and have short-term success. But what I'm more concerned about is long-term sustainability. If you are successful right out of the gate, but it doesn't last, then how valuable is that? Actually, I think it's kind of dangerous sometimes. So my intention tonight is not really to just give you a bunch of information. I don't want to inform you. I want to ignite you. There's my little attempt at being, really super cool with my graphics. I really want to ignite you so that you're being led from the heart and you're inspired to take action. You're inspired to go help the people. I think being a coach is one of the most noble things you can do. When you turn around and you look to help other people based on your experience in life, I think it's one of the most noble things you can do as a participant on this planet. So I really honor your decision, those of you that have made that commitment to yourself and getting your message out there and so forth. So you're definitely in the right place tonight if you have that burning desire to help a lot of people and you want to share your message with the world, whatever that message is. We each have a unique message that is not ours to keep. We might not have a unique topic, but we have a unique perspective on that topic. And because it's our unique perspective, there's only one person that shares your filters and your view of the world, which is you. You have an obligation to share that with other people. And even if there's a lot of people out there teaching on the same thing that you teach, they're not teaching in the same way because they're not just like you. They don't have the same life experiences. They don't have the same filters. They haven't asked themselves the same questions as you. So if you have this desire to share your message, you have an obligation to share that message. It's not for you to keep. And if you're sort of on the sidelines right now and you want to jump into this game and become a full-time speaker or a coach, then great, you're in the right place. Or as I mentioned earlier, if you are already a full-time speaker, but you're just not earning what you want to be earning, or you're not having the impact that you want that you want to be having, then I think this information would be really good for you also. And you've also got to be serious about your success, and you've got to be willing to do what it takes to intentionally build a lucrative business, intentional, not just carelessly, not just you're going to throw some stuff up against the wall and see what sticks. I'm really interested in helping people that say, this is my mission and I'm going to do whatever I need to do in order to fulfill this mission on my planet, on this planet. It's my purpose. It's in my DNA. So that's who I really resonate with. And hopefully that's who you are. Now, I imagine I'm not talking to anybody in this, position on this particular slide, but just to sort of reiterate, if you just want to learn more information from a headspace, but you don't want to implement, then I'm just not the right guy for you. This is not the right place for you. If you're not willing to take action and implement, like I just said, you've got to take what you learn and take your inspired ideas and give life to them. Because if you don't, then nothing will ever change. Nobody will ever get helped. You'll never build a business, and nothing will ever shift in your life. And if you're not willing to invest the resources that you have, there's three main resources to invest. There's time, there's energy, and there's money. Most people are focused on the money side of investing, when in actuality, that's the least important piece. It's easy for us to throw money at things. But what's more challenging is to create the commitment where we're willing to invest our time and we're willing to invest our energy. And if you're willing to invest your time, energy, and money, then you have a chance at building a successful business. Now, that doesn't mean you have to invest a ton of money. And certainly I want to do everything I can to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I've made and that other people have made. But you've still got to be willing to invest in order to build a business, especially in this industry, and especially one that lasts a long time and changes lives. So here's how this webinar is going to work. We're going to be going for 75 to 90 minutes or so. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. I want you to type in your questions as you think of them, or you can write them down and I can answer them towards the end of the call. I'll do a Q&A session. But on your dashboard here, you have a place where you can type in your questions. And as you go along, you can just type in a question. As I see the questions, I'll decide if I want to address it at that moment or not. And here's what I want you to do with your notes. I don't want you to take notes on information. I want you to take notes on inspiration. I want you to take notes about the things that you're inspired to do, the messages that you're inspired to commit to, the action steps that you're inspired to follow. That's what I want you to really take notes on tonight, instead of just, more information. And I'm going to give you a way to get all of the information that you want. You're going to be able to get an audio for this presentation. So you don't have to worry about like taking notes on all my slides and all that. You're going to get all that information. I want you to sit here and just be inspired as best as you possibly can, because that's what's going to really change your life. It's what's going to change the world, basically, is when we take inspired action. And at the end, I'll let you know how we can partner together and really put a lot of these ideas into place. So as I said, we're going to be covering a lot. I'm going to go as fast as I can. You might have trouble catching it all. You're going to be able to get it towards the end. But you know what? I love this little picture of this little turtle, He doesn't know what his limitations are. Strap a rocket on my back and let's go. Throw some wheels on me and let's go. And I think too many times people are hindered by their circumstances. And I want you to be more committed to your dreams than your circumstances. And that's what will allow you to strap a rocket on your back like this little guy and really take off. As I mentioned, stick around to the end. I'll send you a way or I'll show you a way to get the recording. And I'll also send you a document that I have called the 15 Pillars of Persuasion. And it's a template to help you in your sales and in any situation where you need to be influential at all. This is a really powerful document. So I'm going to allude to it in the presentation later on, but I'm going to send this to you. You stick around to the end, I'll tell you how to get that. All right. Now let's start with what's possible just in this whole journey of coaching. It's absolutely possible for you to do something big. It's possible for you to create a very substantial income while at the same time sharing your message, sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom with the world, and helping a lot of people just improve their lives in some way, shape, or form in the process. And a lot of coaches make a heck of a lot of money. There are plenty of coaches who charge 300, 400, 500 or more. I know coaches. I have a coach who charges $1,000 an hour. He's one of my coaches, and I happily pay that amount because the knowledge that he has and the amount of time that he saves me, the mistakes that he helps me avoid is well worth that dollar amount, right? That doesn't mean you have to start out charging $300, and this game is really not about how much money you can make, but you can absolutely create some abundance for you and have a ton of time freedom. I mean, this industry is amazing if you do it, properly. The other thing I want you to really get is that having a six-figure business in the coaching world is not all that difficult as many people may think. There's some magic around this six-figure mark, but it's not all that magical. And I want to demystify some of that for you tonight as well. I want you to see that it doesn't have to be super tough. It doesn't have to be really hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it doesn't have to be difficult, especially with all the things that we have access to now with technology and guidance and so forth. And as I mentioned, there's so much freedom and positive lifestyle that can be afforded with this industry. And I really truly believe it's second to none. So you're in the right place if all of that is really speaking to you. And here's the thing: this has all been figured out before. All you've got to do is basically learn from the people who've gone before, right? Who've already climbed that mountain or are climbing that mountain a little ways ahead of you so that they can help shorten your learning curve. Now, that's the possibility, but here's the problem. The problem is that even though most coaches and trainers get into this game to change lives, most of them, the vast majority of them, I think it's at least 95%, if not more, never really get their business going. And what happens is they get stuck in the confusion or the overwhelm. And a lot of times it's because they're learning all these advanced marketing tactics, or they're learning about technology and it scares them, and they just get weighed down by all of the challenges in the industry. And it's sad because what happens is their message then dies inside of them. And if their message dies inside of them, then their seekers don't get help. I believe that each and every one of us has somebody, a lot of people out there actually, who are desperately seeking the knowledge that we have. So I think we owe it to our seekers to get this message out into the world. And too often, new coaches quit, they lick their wounds, they ultimately retreat. I've been there many, many times in different points in my career. And that's not okay. That has to stop. We've got to really be able to propel people forward in this industry. Now, let me tell you from my experience what some of the most common reasons for failure are. And these are general reasons. I think, first of all, just by the nature of who we are, we show up to serve people. We're drawn to this world because we want to help others. But the problem with that is the people who are drawn to help others are repelled by marketing and selling and promoting themselves and speaking highly of themselves. And there's just like this inherent disconnect between people who want to show up to serve and the necessity of selling. And especially when you're selling yourself. I mean, you could have had all kinds of success somewhere else, but when you start to sell yourself, it's a whole different ballgame. All kinds of new thoughts and fears and so forth come up. And it's an inherent challenge that we've got to overcome. Another big problem is that a lot of people are just trying to invent the whole process on their own. They're trying to reinvent the wheel. And that's really dangerous, especially with technology, because technology is turning over so quickly now. So by the time you figure something out on your own, it's already changed. And you've got to, keep up with the times, so to speak, right? Another piece that I alluded to earlier is that a lot of people just get caught collecting information. It's that, the analytical part of our brain that wants to have information. We want to be prepared. We want to have certifications and all that stuff. And all of that is important to an extent. But too many people get caught in this learning, phase, and all they do is they just get stuck in this learning quicksand, right? And they don't implement, which is incredibly dangerous. If now being in this learning phase is safe because you don't have to sell anything, you don't have to bump up against your fears, you don't have to risk anything, and it feels like you're really moving forward. But just collecting more information is not necessarily moving forward. So you've got to make sure that you're implementing, and you've got to have systems, and some of them are technology systems, some of them are just internal systems. Some of them are basic business systems that a lot of people in this industry, just don't learn because it's not, we don't come from a business background. We come from just wanting to help people, right? And this next one rather is uncertainty, and this covers a wide range of areas. There's so many areas to be uncertain. But when you don't know what to do, when you don't know exactly what system to follow, when you just try to model other people that you see, when you're not sure who you are as a coach, when you don't have certainty that you can help people, I mean, any level of uncertainty is contagious, and it will show up in your marketing. So I don't care if you're a marketing wizard. If you have uncertainty in your body, if you have uncertainty in your heart, in your mind, it will show up in your marketing. But if you have rock solid certainty and confidence, then you don't even have to be that good at marketing. You're still going to be much more attractive to people who want to follow you. So certainty is a big, big piece that I think is too often overlooked. And most people aren't looking themselves to get certain first because they just want the sexy things. Just teach me how to do a 6-figure video launch campaign, right? Or teach me how to attract a whirlwind of my clients without doing anything, just plug and play system. That's a huge, huge mistake, because if you're not certain, you will be more apt to quit later on when the going gets tough, so to speak, right? Another piece is overwhelm. I talk to tons of coaches, and one of the things that I hear them say all the time is, it would be nice to just have all these things in one program, all the different marketing phases or marketing aspects, or how to do a website, or how to write autoresponders, or just how to do all the marketing piece. People get overwhelmed when they go to a bunch of different places. It's like a buffet of information, but there's not congruency there. And then you sort of have to translate it, right? And so many coaches just like, I just want to know what to do first. And that overwhelm of getting too much information but not knowing what to do first and then what to do next is another reason that people just get stuck. And that sticky energy expands, and it's contagious, right? And I imagine that many of you are really resonating with this. I know that's how I was for periods of time. Interestingly enough, I got into this period of overwhelm and uncertainty well into my business after I'd made hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is kind of backwards, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then finally, no matter what endeavor we're talking about, it's always going to be the inner game that stops people. It's going to be the fears, the doubts, the limiting beliefs, dealing with the upsets, dealing with expectations. It's always going to be all that stuff. And if we can help you get through that, then there's nothing that you can't learn. There's nothing that you can't get through. Now, again, I said I talked to a lot of coaches and I asked them a question: what is it that you just want? And what most coaches just want is just to do the work. I just want to do what I'm here to do. I want to do what I love to do, what I'm passionate about. I just want to help people. I don't want to have to be dealing with all the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And we as coaches, we want to have something that's simple, something clear, that's something or something that is easy to follow. But also, I mean, let's be honest, we want to make some good money. We want that time freedom. We want that financial freedom. We want the energetic freedom. And when I ask coaches what they usually want, the goal, interestingly enough, is generally around, if I had to put an average on it, it's about $250,000. Even though a lot of people are focused on and looking at the 6-figure mark, I think most people realize that 6 figures is not enough, especially when you're talking about a business and you've got all these other expenses. That's not enough to afford you the lifestyle that you really want. So most coaches that are aware of that, their goal is multiple six figures. Okay. Now here's my first message to you, because if you don't really get this, then nothing I can teach you or nothing anybody else can teach you really matters. I mean, you can do this work. It's possible to make this great living, especially if the odds are stacked in your favor. We'll talk about that. And as long as you have the right tools, you got the right guidance, and you've got the right preparation, you know what's ahead of you, and you can strap toilets on your back if needed. Then this is absolutely doable, because, like I said, there's no problem that you're going to face in this coaching industry that hasn't already been faced and figured out. So it's up to you just to make sure that you're creating a support system around you of people that can help you build this business and help you get your message out into the world. And that's really why I'm here today. I'm here because I know you're a person of service. I know your goal is to help as many people as possible in your journey. And my purpose is really to hold a space open for you to bet on yourself. I think one of the most powerful statements I ever heard was a guy who said, everybody that he's ever known who's done anything significant at a point in their life where they seem to have nothing going for them, where they seem to have no money left, where they seem to have no supporters left, they took everything they had and they bet it on themselves. And I remember when I heard that, I was in that place of, being beaten down. And it made me cry, because I was running from myself in that moment. And a lot of times we run away from our very power. The things that are the most powerful, we run away from them sometimes, especially when the going gets tough, when things aren't going the way we want them to go. And that was one of the most impactful things anybody's ever said to me, is sometimes just got to take it all and bet on yourself. And you've just got to throw it all in. I'm all in. You got to be willing to get into this good fight that I talk about a lot for every last one of your goals and your dreams. And if you're not willing to get into that good fight, then anything will be able to knock you down. And I know that you are meant to play a big game. I believe each and every one of you knows that you're meant to play a big game. But don't play a game that is stacked in your favor. I'm sorry, don't play a game that is stacked against you. Play a game that is stacked in your favor. Sorry, I just got a question that says, you got to say that quote at the end again. So I will do my best to remember to say that quote at the end again. And if not, then you can remind me. So it's really about betting on ourselves. And I'm on a mission, truthfully. I want to start a revolution in the coaching world. I think there are a lot of models that are broken out there. And I want to repave the road for new coaches. I think there's a lot of bumps in the road. There's a lot of potholes in the road. And I am really focused on and passionate about repaving that road. And here's my goal. My goal is to create 1,000 full-time, highly successful coaches in my lifetime with this work, because I think coaching is one of the most powerful forces on the planet. And before we get into the marketing map here in a few moments, I want to tell you a little bit about me so you understand, where I've been, where I'm coming from, and kind of give you a conceptual and contextual awareness of all the things that that I talk about. What you see on the screen here is the love of my life. I'm a father. My wife and I are going to celebrate 15 years married, 18 years together this summer. My daughter in the middle there, her name's McKenna. She's 11, and my son Exley is 7 years old. And I mean, they're why I do what I do. And I know each and every one of you have a driving force in your life as well. And it's really important that we keep that in perspective. So I'm a husband and father first. I'm a speaker and coach, and everything else second, distant second. I've got this amazing family that I just told you about. Now, my life really got going on this path on December 17th of 1986. And on that day, I was riding my bike to school as an 8th grader. It was a really crisp morning as I was riding my bike, and I swerved to avoid getting hit by a car that had run a red light, or a stop sign rather, on the right side. And in doing so, I swerved right into the slow lane of oncoming traffic. And my next door neighbor hit me doing 50 miles an hour. And I just flipped over the car and I blacked out and I came to and I had all kinds of cars coming at me. And, in this eternal instant, my life completely changed. As I looked at the cars coming at me, I just remember having this one thought of, I don't want to die. And it was in that moment that I realized it doesn't matter where we are in life, it can end in a moment without warning. And I don't know how I got out of the street that day. Next thing I remember, I was on the sidewalk, and the lady who ran the stop sign was praying, and she was saying, she was looking at the heavens and saying, God, please spare this child's life. And I realized how serious it was. And over the course of, well, ever since, then till now, I've just had this one shot mentality. I know that we get one shot. And I made a promise to myself that day that I would do anything that I possibly could. I would do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to live a life of greatness and to never settle for mediocrity. I made that promise to myself as a 13-year-old boy. And it changed everything for me. It changed the way I looked at life. It changed the way I looked at my parents. I started paying attention to the people that had the things that I wanted, and started paying attention to the people that had the things that I didn't want, maybe even more attention to them. So I changed friends. I did a lot of things differently. I started reading, this whole world of personal development started to open up to me and so forth. But even though I made that promise to myself, I still wasn't achieving everything that I wanted to. Um, I just had these fears, and I've learned that even when we make this promise to ourselves, which I think each and every one of you have made a promise to yourself similarly, otherwise you wouldn't be drawn to this world in general. You wouldn't be on this webinar. So I really believe that it's in those moments that we make those promises to ourselves that all of our power resides. Each and every one of you has a moment that you decided that enough was enough and you were going to change your life, or that you were going to quit a job, or you were going to go for it in this new business, or you were going to do something, and it was going to be a big shift in your life. And it's in those moments that you decide to change your life that all of your power lives. And you owe it to yourself to commit to that moment, commit to that mission that you have. Too many people forget those moments, and we get caught up in all the circumstances of life. But it's in those moments that our true passion lives. That's when we are most alive. It's in those moments where we say, I'm in. No matter what happens, I'm in. And I've had a few of those moments in my life. December 17th, 1986 was the first of mine. And I invite each and every one of you to remember what yours was. And maybe there's plenty more than just one, but what was that moment where you decided something that was worth fighting for? I love that quote. I don't remember who said it, but if you don't have, I think it was Martin Luther King Jr., if you don't have something worth fighting for or worth dying for, oh, I've already butchered it. Something like, if you don't have something worth fighting for, then oh man, that was so clear as I started to say it. I know the essence of the quote, and I think hopefully you know the essence of the quote too. It's something like, if you don't have something to stand for, you'll fall for anything. And then I've heard a version of that quote that is like living for something versus dying for something. If you don't have something that you're willing to die for, then you'll never really live, or something like that. So I apologize to anybody that is a historian or whatever for butchering that. But I really know that we've got to stay plugged into those moments where we decide to change our lives. So my mission now has come out of that story. My message comes out of my mess, as does all of ours. So my mission is to empower people to live their lives with passion and purpose and presence, because that's been my experience in this personal development journey. And specifically in the coaching world, once I decided to be a coach 7 years ago, we haven't done too bad. This isn't the sexiest story of the world, but of the coaching world, but we've done pretty well. I mean, we've earned over $1.3 million since 2007. And truthfully, I didn't even know how much we had earned until last year when I was looking through the books to do some kind of presentation. And I was actually surprised that we had crossed $1 million. And one of the reasons I know that we've done so well is because that's never been my driving force. I didn't know when we crossed that $1 million mark. I didn't know when we crossed our first $100,000 mark. I didn't have any idea how much we made in our first year. And I think it's a huge mistake to try to be led by money, to try to be motivated by money, because it's not going to motivate any of you. We've got to be motivated and more committed to the mission, and then the money shows up on its own, right? So that's me. And many of you have heard this story. I had a really profound experience with my father, who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer a little over 2 years ago. And he lived with me the last 80 days of his life. And most of that was in a hospital bed in the middle of our living room here. And when we both knew that it was time to go, he had entered hospice. He had given up the will to live, and he just wanted to be medicated for the rest of his days until he died in his sleep. And I remember knowing that he was going to die pretty soon, but not wanting him to die because I wasn't complete. And so I asked the hospice nurse if I could take some patches off and get my dad back, because they took the pain away, but they also took his awareness away. And I knew that I just wanted to have one more conversation with my dad and tell him, what he means to me. And so I did. I took the patches off, and about 8 hours later, he came to his awareness and his senses, and I had this just amazing, beautiful conversation. I was holding his hand and was able to tell him what I thought of him and what other people thought of him, and just how amazing of a man he was, and of a friend, and of a dad. And I'd never been mad at him, and it was just so completing. That's what a terrible word to use, but it was so fulfilling. There was a lot of completion there. That's where I was going with that, but it was so fulfilling. And the most profound part is I asked him, when you're gone, Dad, how can I live your legacy? And what he told me was one of those moments in my life. And he told me, he calls me Shawnee. He said, Shawnee, just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And it was just that simple. I felt like he gave me this torch in his deathbed wisdom of what I'm here to do and what I'm here to help people do. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. You're a unique person, be that person. You have capabilities, perform, do what you can do. Just do the best. Do the best you can. Who cares where you end up, at the end of your life? Just do the best you can and just live a good life, right? And that's all that we can ask for people. And I carry that message around with me all the time. My car has this license plate that says, be, do, live. And the reason I tell you all of that is, number one, I want you to know just a little bit more about me, but you all have a story. You have a story inside of you that's burning to get out. Not only is it burning to get out of you, it has the ability to help other people. There are people who could totally relate to who you are, where you've been, where you're going, and how you can help them. And it's your obligation to share that story with the world. So now, from a coaching perspective and a business perspective, let me tell you a little bit about what I've done in this industry, and certainly not to impress you, because there are a lot of lowlights here that I'm about to get to, but it's just so you understand where all this content is coming from. So just to kind of set the context. In 2005, I attended a speaking event, and that's when I decided I wanted to be a speaker. But I didn't act on it. I just made a decision, and a decision without action is, useless. So later that year, I was at a Breakthrough to Success event with Jack Canfield, and I got deeply connected to what my purpose was in life. And that's when I decided to take some action on that promise that I made myself back in January, that I was actually going to be a speaker. And I remember very clearly the question that I asked myself was, how many people are out there that I'm not helping because I haven't taken action on my goals? And that just got me into motion, right? So how many people have you not helped because you're stuck in, the fears or the doubts or whatever? It's like, you've got to connect with those people. And then later that year, I went to an ultimate business breakthrough event, and I came face to face with one of my fears of not being good enough. And thankfully, there was a man at the seminar who was a co-facilitator, and he took me outside and did a process with me. In about 15 minutes, I totally just released this limiting belief of I'm not good enough and I'll never succeed, and who am I to be successful? Who am I to be a business owner? Who am I to to teach anything to anybody. I always had this thought that nobody cares what I have to say. And that was huge for me in my journey, specifically in this business. And I remember I emailed him back a little bit later and a few months later, and I said, dude, I don't know what that was. And I don't care if it was legal, but you got to tell me, where do I go to get that? I was just it was so transformative in my life. And he told me where to go to get certified as a coach. And I started studying neurolinguistic programming and the mind in general and the unconscious mind. And that's when I really started to kick into my own power, and understanding myself and understanding what I could teach other people. And so in February 2006, I did my very first event. It was called How to Maximize Your Athletic Ability. It was all for athletes, but there was a group of Mary Kay ladies that showed up. And after the event, they said, well, you come teach this to us because we need to know this stuff too. And my original response, honestly, was absolutely not. I don't have any I don't have any desire to teach you guys how to sell makeup and lipstick and all that stuff. I want to teach athletes how to, how to bang their chest and do well in the sports field, right? In battle. But after a couple months of that going nowhere, I eventually went back to the Mary Kay world and I did an event, and it was just awesome. I'll talk a little bit later about a clicking point, and this was a clicking point for me. I realized that I loved the energy and they loved what I had to say, and so I really started to focus on the Mary Kay world. I had a really cool brand. I was the Pink Caddy coach, and I was doing Pink Caddy universities, and I focused. That was the big thing, is I focused. That's why I say that was the good decision. I focused my business on serving a particular client, and we did really, really well. We did over $300,000 that year. And that was our first, basically, full year in business. And then in 2008, I made in hindsight, it was a poor decision for my business. It was one of the best decisions I made because it taught me everything I now know. But it was a poor decision because I pulled away from everything that was working. I stopped focusing on a certain person. I started to be more vague, and our business collapsed. And in 2009, we ended up filing bankruptcy because I just couldn't handle the implosion of the business. And to go from over $300,000 in 2007 to about $150,000 in 2009, that was real tough to swallow, and our business just couldn't handle it. So finally, we filed bankruptcy, and that wore on me and weighed on me for a long time because all my own inadequacies showed up again, right? And I was the father that couldn't provide for his kids, and I was the business owner that couldn't run a successful business. But in hindsight, I realized that was the most impactful and the most useful time I've ever had in business because I had to deal with all that stuff. And if I wouldn't have had to deal with all that stuff, we wouldn't have been able to turn it around and become healthy again and so forth. And over the last couple of years, I've really been focused on coaching because, as I said, I know there's a lot of problems in this industry where people really have a desire to help, but they're just not able to. And so my passion now, I never thought I'd be any kind of coach's coach or anything like that, but my passion now is to really help people who want to do well in this industry, help them from the beginning with the foundational pieces that are more important than any of the marketing stuff that they'll ever learn. So that's the mission that I'm on now, which brings us to the chunk, the meat of this presentation today, which is the new coach's marketing map to a thriving and fulfilling six-figure business. And I'm sitting here with no lights on, so my screen just got really bright. And if your screen just got really bright because the background has changed, then cool, good, wake up. So here's the new coach's marketing map to a thriving and fulfilling business. And recently I was talking with my team and just asking, what is it? What are the pieces, the foundational pieces that a new coach has to go through? And that's what created this marketing map. And I think it's really important to give you a step-by-step process. And step number one, I've alluded to it, is certainty. And there are three main things that you've got to be certain in. Number one, you've got to be certain around your seeker. And what I mean by seeker is that person who's desperately seeking the information that you have in your head. You've got to know who that person is. The most valuable asset that you have in your business forever will be your seeker's perspective. It won't be skills that you have, although those are important. It won't be the marketing knowledge, although that's important. It will be the perspective of the person that you're serving. If you understand how he or she sees the world, then you can help them. But if you don't understand how they see the world and you don't have an intimate connection with their perspective on life, what they want, what are they afraid of, what have they tried? If you don't have a connection with all that stuff, you can't serve them. But as soon as you really know the plight of your seeker, you can help them. There's nothing you can't help them through. So that's why I say that's your most valuable asset, is your seeker's perspective. Now, another piece of certainty is skill set. You must be confident. You must be confident in your abilities. You've got to know how you show up. You've got to be able to tell people, this is how I can help you. And you've got to be certain in that. If you're not certain in teaching people what you can do and you don't show up with a positioning, an emotional and energetic positioning that you can help people, and beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have skills that can help people, then that's going to be communicated in your marketing, in your messaging. And it's not going to be it's just not going to be attractive, right? So people need to know that you can help them. And that comes from your skill set confidence. And then the third thing is your solutions. And what I mean by that is, how are you going to help people? What are the products and programs that you're going to put together to solve their problems? And if you don't have a clear sense of direction, you don't have a funnel that I'll talk to in a minute, then your lack of clarity will trip you up. So these are the three main pieces that are really important for you to have certainty around. And let me tell you the story real quick of Alyssa Bakar. She spent the necessary time really getting clear on who her seeker is. And what she says is that just the process of identifying my seeker gave my business a jolt of clarity and momentum and confidence that was the turning point for her cash flow. And within weeks, I was working with her, meaning her seeker. She got really clear on who her ideal seeker was, and within weeks, she attracted this person. More leads and referrals or just kept coming in. And I remember her texting or emailing me, her very first check. That's what I get really passionate about, is not people who make $50,000, people who make $60,000, $100,000. Those things are cool. But what I get passionate about is people who make their very first check, people who get their very first coaching client, people who do their very first teleseminar. I get excited about that stuff because I know that's the first and necessary step to all of those other things that we're all leading toward. So Alyssa just had a really good, experience when she got clarity, and then that person showed up in her life. Now, the second step here is your content funnel. Once you have certainty around the solutions that you're going to give, you've got to be clear on how it's going to play out. How are you going to funnel people through your materials? And part of that is going to be freebies. There's going to be things that you give away, whether it's a free CD that you hand out live to people that can listen to it, pop it in their car, or maybe it's a free downloadable something that you're going to give to people as a bribe for giving you their email and address. Maybe it's a teleseminar call or series of calls that's totally free, but it's intentional. And the whole purpose is to walk people through your content, right? And then you've got your paid programs. And what you need is a tiered set of offerings. Now, the tiers could be 2, 3, maybe 4. I would suggest 2 or 3. But you've got to have a low tier, a mid tier, and a high tier, or just a low tier and a high tier paid programs, because some people are going to want everything that you have and they're going to pay whatever you're charging at the higher level. And some people aren't ready for that yet. You haven't built enough trust. They don't know enough about your story or your information or your content yet, but they will go after the low tiered one, or they'll go after the mid tiered one. So it's important for us to have some entry points along the way that people can jump into our content, and then we lead them through the content intentionally. And a huge piece of a content funnel that a lot of people don't pay attention to is your follow-up. And follow-up is not just trying to get people to buy something. Follow-up is sometimes getting them to read something that you already sent out to them. Consistently reminding them of the things that you have to offer or the content that you've already given them. So follow-up is a necessary piece of your content funnel. It's got to be woven in there. And too many times people don't understand the power of it, or they don't understand that it belongs everywhere in your funnel, not just at the end of some kind of sales presentation, right? I think a lot of us know the fortunes in the follow-up from a sales perspective, but the engagement is in the follow-up as well when we're wanting to engage our crowd. So that's another really important piece. The third one here, your third X along the journey here, is the concept of conversions. And there's a few different things that you have to pay attention to with conversions. Number one, online in your website, we got to look at a few different conversion pages, certain pages that you have on your websites. One of them is going to be an opt-in page. And the purpose of an opt-in page is to convert a visitor into a subscriber. So that's where somebody's going to give you their name and email address and subscribe to your content, right? Subscribe to your email list. We call it building a list or building a community. So you want to convert visitors into subscribers. Then you're going to give them content, and the purpose of content is to convert your subscribers into fans. When you share your message with people, when you share yourself with people, when you send them good content that's free and it just contributes to their life, they're going to become fans of yours. At least a lot of them will. And then the third kind of conversion is the actual sales conversion. That's where you take fans and they're converted into clients, right? Those are the people that are going to pay you for what you have, to join your programs, to get coached by you, to buy a product or whatever, the offer is in the moment. So there's this constant cycle of conversion going on. And this is not manipulation. This is just, as I said earlier, pacing people through your material. It's helping them go deeper and deeper and deeper into your content. And there's a conversion at every step of the way. We've got to convert people to take one more step. And that takes effort. It takes energy. It takes strategy. It takes intention. And it's not difficult if you do it the proper way. If you don't do it the right way, even if you get a bunch of people that join your websites and you just, spit a bunch of sales offers at them, you're not going to go anywhere because they won't ever become fans of yours. They're not ever going to refer people to you, right? There's not going to be a connection there. So that's the online conversion. From a live speaking perspective, this is another aspect of conversions, and this is in your presentations. When you're offering something, when you're doing any kind of sales presentations, whether you're doing live speaking, teleseminars, webinars, there's got to be a process that you intentionally follow to create conversion, to create the next step, to create people continually going through your information and going through your materials. Now, at the core of conversion is this persuasion formula. And I've developed this template from all the different resources that I've, studied persuasion from. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is what I'll give you towards the end of the webinar. All you've got to do is stick around. It's basically a formula for persuasion. Persuasion is something that can be intentionally followed. I don't want you to show up in any kind of persuasion scenario and just wing it, because chances are you won't be giving people what they need. And this is just based on how the human mind receives information and how the human mind and the human heart, just the human spirit digests information, right? And again, this isn't about manipulation. It's about giving people what they need in the order that they need it and in the way they want to see it, so that you can become as persuasive as possible and you can incite a decision. Now, it doesn't mean everybody's going to say yes. Most people are going to say no, regardless of what we're selling. But you want people to say yes or no. You just want them to have some sort of decision. The fourth piece here is having some cornerstone product or program. Now, understand, you're still not even marketing at this point. These are all foundational pieces that you are doing, but you're not marketing. You're not doing any social media. You're not taking people anywhere to a site. You're not selling anything. You're just getting ready, and I don't want you to stay in the getting ready phase, but most people don't stay long enough in the getting ready phase. And that's why when they jump into all these other phases of selling and marketing and stuff, they get frustrated and it doesn't work. So I just want you to understand and be aware, we're still not even marketing yet at this point. We're getting ready. This is the foundation so you can build something profound. This next piece is for you to develop some kind of cornerstone product or program. Now, your cornerstone products doesn't, you don't have to figure out the thing right now that's going to last you your whole career. That's what a lot of people, myself included, get stuck on. I used to get stuck on that. I used to think, okay, what's that first product that I'm going to have that's going to stand the test of time? And, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm going to be known for this product. If you try to figure that out from the beginning, you'll make yourself go crazy. So each of your phases of your career might have their own cornerstone product. So these can evolve, but we need something that you can latch onto, something that you can sort of plant your flag behind. And it can be a book or an ebook. An ebook is just a book online that people can read. I'm sure most of you have gotten PDF files or some form of an ebook. It can be an audio product. It can be a home study course. It can be a number of different things, but these are the 3 suggestions that I would have for you. Unless there's a reason for you to do something different, I would suggest one of these 3 things. And if you wanted a single suggestion for me, it would be the middle one. I would suggest you do an audio product. And the reason is it's a lot easier to get that done, to complete it, and to deliver it. And the perception of an audio product is a lot higher than actually the perception of a book. You can sell an audio product a lot higher price than you can a book, and which is kind of interesting because a lot of times the audio has like 1/10 or 1/20 of the information in a book, but it's got a high perceived value and it's really simple to create. So that would be my suggestion, unless there's a compelling reason for you to do something different. But you want to have some kind of cornerstone product that you can stand behind and you can take out to the marketplace. Now, once you're clear on what that cornerstone product is and you've got some clarity around your seeker, now we've got to do everything that we possibly can to start getting you into consultations. So you're going to want to have a clear, intentional consultation strategy. One of the best ways, the second best way to sell your coaching program, from my experience, is to have one-on-one conversations with people on the phone. Now, the single best way is to be on stage, to have an event, to speak at somebody else's event, or to host your own event. My experience, and everybody I've ever talked to, is that will always give you your highest return on your time investment, is to be on stage. But it's not easy to get there. So getting people into consultations is a lot easier. So even though it's only the second best way, it's a lot easier. So that's what I want you to focus on, is how can you get people on the phone so that you can have a one-on-one private conversation with them. And your consultation needs to be, there's an art to a consultation call. These are free calls that you do with people, and there's an art to it. And from your perspective, it's got to be simple. It's got to be short. I was just telling one of my, private clients today, listen, the longer your consultations are, the less clients you'll have. Period. End of paragraph. Like, I don't care what the reasons are. Longer calls equals less clients. So you've got to have a short consultation strategy. 20 to 30 minutes is plenty. And it's got to be strategic. There must be a flow to it. I've developed this consultation flow, and it's just 8 questions. And one question leads to the next, and then that one leads to the next. And, they all feed off of each other. And if you don't have a flow like that, and you just kind of wing it, then your consultations are going to be chaotic, right? And you're not going to get out of them what you want. But when you do have a simple strategy to follow and you get people on the phone, you're going to get clients. Let me tell you about Jen Wensky. I love this story. She said that basically she got, clear on who her seeker is, and then she just started doing complimentary consultations. She said, once I followed the system for complimentary consultations, along with the confidence of her coaching packages and having a very clear picture of who her seeker is, which we've already talked about on this presentation, She got 10 full-time clients. She got 10 more clients to enroll in a group coaching program for her. She earned well over $6,000 in just 2 months, and all she was doing was getting people on the phone. And when you get people on the phone and you engage with them and you ask them questions and you just show up to serve, you're going to get clients. But if you get on the phone to sell, you're going to repel people. So at the core of all of this is you showing up to serve. Now, the last piece here before we get into the marketing is we got to have some strategy around your campaigns, right? And there's so many different variables here, but I'm going to give you a really high level chunked up perspective as best I can on what a campaign strategy really is, and here's what it looks like. You give, then you offer, right? And this could be 3 articles that you send people before you offer them a single CD on that subject. It could be 3 videos that you send people until you offer them a group coaching program. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the number 3, but you've got to give and give and give and then offer. Either one of them without the other doesn't work. If all you're doing is selling, but you're never giving and giving, then you're just going to be a salesman to these people. Or if all you're doing is giving and giving and giving and you're never offering anything, then your business won't go anywhere, right? So there's got to be a combination, but you have to show up to serve, and then people will allow you to sell. It's like you've got to earn the right to sell to people. And you do that by contributing to them. And then they will happily open your emails. They'll listen to your calls. They'll listen to your presentations. They'll consider your offers. And they'll make a decision. It doesn't mean they're going to say yes, but they will happily consider what you have if you're contributing to their life first. So for you, the actual strategy is going to be dependent on whether we're doing CDs or whether you're doing a teleseminar series or whether you're selling a coaching program. So there's a lot of variables, but you've got to have a clear strategy before you get going into the marketing. And now once you have all that clarity, now it's time to start creating some exposure. What a lot of people are mistakenly doing is they're looking for exposure. They're trying to go out and get eyeballs, but they really don't know where to send people. I mean, I remember going out there and people are like, where can I go? Do you have a book? Do you have a website? And I didn't know where to send them. And so exposure without strategy is useless. You've got to have a strategy on the back end. And if you've spent the time to go through each of these phases, you'll be fine. And one of the things that I think is really important that you don't skip ahead. My suggestion to you is you don't go to each additional phase until the last one is complete. So don't move on to building your content funnel until you have complete certainty on who your seeker is, what your solutions are, and your just unique place in the world, right? I forgot truthfully, I forgot the third S. It's your seeker, your solutions is the third one. All right, this is going to bug me. I got to back up. Your seeker, oops, I'm going the wrong way. Your seeker, your solutions, sorry, I got to figure this out. Your skill set, of course, your skill set. So clearly, you don't have to be a memory expert to be, successful on any level. So anyway, I had to clear that of my own for my own reasons. So anyway, you've got to have this campaign strategy. But where I was going is don't move on to the next step until you've got completion in the first step. If you haven't completed certainty, then going on to your content funnel is actually dangerous. It's not going to be helpful. So with your campaign strategy, you're going to have a give offer, compelling strategy that you're going to follow, and now we can start getting some exposure. So the first thing that I would want you to do is get local community exposure. And what I mean by that is just start speaking. Go to some local organizations. Go to networking events. Chamber of Commerce puts on networking events all the time. Go to networking groups like BNI or Meetup. Just get involved with your community organizations, your schools, your local charities. There's all kinds of charities in your community like Boys and Girls Club and the Kiwanis Club and your Rotary clubs. Get in front of those people as best you can so that you can get some exposure and just let people know what you're passionate about. And you never know who's going to be in the audience in your local community that might refer you to somebody else. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go offline, because there are so many varying paths that you might take once you get some community exposure and the ideas that you get and the referrals that you get. And I don't want to spend, an hour on all the different possibilities there, but this is where I would want you to start in your local community, to just get out there and speak to somebody, anybody, get your message out, get used to hearing the words come out of your mouth. You're going to, listen for what content people really like. What are they drawn to? What are you really passionate about teaching? There's tons of benefits for you to just get out there and start speaking. After you've done a little bit of the community exposure, now it's about getting online. And you want to get to the point where you're getting some consistent traffic online. And there's 5 ways that I'm going to touch on tonight on getting consistent traffic. Most of these are free. All you've got to do is invest your time and invest some intention and strategy. And the first way is social media. A lot of people are familiar with social media now, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so forth. But you've got to have a specific strategy for how are you going to use your social media to get traffic back to your site. That's what we mean by traffic. We mean people that are coming to your websites. So how are you going to get them into your content funnel? How are you going to guide them, into your material, into your content? Another piece of this is called content marketing. That's where you write an article or you do a video and you send it out. You post it. You post videos on YouTube. You post articles on article marketing sites. And the whole purpose is to go capture people's information and then bring them back to your site and capture their information. Actually, I might have just said that. So you capture their attention first. The whole purpose is you throw content out there to capture their attention. Then you bring them back to your site and capture their information. That's the whole point of content marketing with articles and with videos. A third piece here is search engine optimization. I am definitely not an expert on search engine optimization, but a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people ask questions about it. So I just wanted to brush over it here. Not to brush over it in the sense that it's not important, but I'm not going to give you a whole SEO training here. But basically what search engine optimization is when you get clear on who you're going after online, what are the keywords? There's a whole slew of keyword research you can figure out. What are people typing into Google when they have a question about starting a business or when they have a question about parenting? What is it that they're typing into Google? And what you do is you identify the keywords that you want to go after, and then you strategically put them in your website. And that's the whole essence of search engine optimization. There's a bunch of different places that you put them in your website. I'm not going to go into all those different places because it's just going to be confusing for those of you who are not doing your own websites. But the purpose is to flood your websites with words and phrases that are going to optimize your chances of being found in the search engines. So that's what search engine optimization stands for, and that's basically what it is at a really high level view. Another piece of getting consistent traffic is joint ventures and affiliates, and that's where other people will support you by sending your offers out to their communities. So maybe you know somebody who has a community of 1,000 people, and you put together a joint venture relationship with them where they send your offer out to their people and you pay them a percentage of any money that comes in. Or maybe they send your offer out to their people and you send their offer out to your people, and it's just a reciprocal nature. But getting a bunch of people to support you is one of the best ways to get traffic to your sites. Now, all 4 of these things are free. You might have to pay somebody to do search engine optimization, but the actual, the doing of it is free. The 5th one that I'm going to talk about is something that you would invest money into, and that's paid advertising. But I want you to be really cautious with your paid advertising because you can lose a lot of money if you don't have all of the things that we've already talked about in place. You're not strategic. You don't know exactly where people are going. If you don't know how to track, your advertising dollars, then it can be really dangerous for you to just jump into paid advertising. But when you have all of these things in place, paid advertising is one of the best ways to get consistent traffic, because once you figure out the formula on paid advertising for your specific niche and for your specific program and product and seeker, then this is 24 hours of the day. It's like a constant salesperson sending people your way 24 hours of the day. You just got to make sure that you do it properly to where it becomes a return for you. And then you turn it on and leave it on. And then it can be very, very powerful of getting people into your community. Once you have them in your community, you've got this consistent traffic, people are coming to your websites, you've got the conversion strategies, so they're joining your list. Now what you've got to do is really connect with your tribe. And what I mean by connecting with your tribe, first of all, your tribe are those fans of yours. They're the people that are following you, right? And they're the people that are listening to what you have to say. There are several ways to connect with your tribe. One of them is just you send out articles and videos and you put them on your blog. So you send people to your personal blog. You just say, hey, I just wrote an article on this, and here, go to the blog and let me know what you think, right? So you're constantly contributing to them. You're also giving back in social media. You've got fan pages, you've got Twitter accounts, and you're just constantly giving away information from you. You might be giving away information from other people. You might just be giving away humor. This is a joke that you found, and you're just giving. You're contributing to the conversation in a big way. And that creates a lot of connection with the people who are following you. And basically what your whole intention is to engage. You want to get people asking you questions. You want to get people answering your questions. You want to find out what they want to know, and you want to answer their questions, right? You just want to engage. And that's kind of goes back to what I was saying is you've got to really study the mind of your tribe members. You've got to study the mind of your seeker. And just to reiterate, I just got a question that said, what exactly is your seeker again? Your seeker is your ideal client. It's your potential, person that you're here to serve. I like to think of it in terms of seeker because a lot of people think of it in terms of potential client. Who can I sell to? But you're not coming from a place of service when you're thinking of who you can sell to. You're coming from a place of service when you're thinking, who's out there right now desperately seeking the information that I have? It just puts you in a different, level of energy. And it puts you in this place of serving somebody who's out there seeking instead of how can I find that ideal client that I can sell to? So that's what I mean by seeker. I know I've been alluding back and forth, using that word back and forth. So that's your connection with your tribe. And once you continue to connect with your tribe, now we're getting close to finding that clicking point for you. And the clicking point is, as it says, it's when it all clicks. I don't know when that's going to be for you. For me, I've had several clicking points. The first one is when I went to that first Mary Kay Super Saturday training event, and it just clicked. I felt the way they listened to me. I felt the engagement. I loved the interaction, and it just clicked. And then early in 2007, it really clicked again when I made the connection between my products and a traffic source. And what I mean by that is your clicking point doesn't have to be complicated. And in fact, I want it to be really simple. For you to click, it really only requires one product and one source of traffic. You can have one product. For me, I realized at the beginning of 2007 that my clicking point was doing seminars in the Mary Kay world. When I do seminars, when I get in front of 20, 40, 50, 150 people, everything in my business works. And so I focused that entire year. If you want to know how we brought in over $340,000 the very first year, the very first full year, which is 2007, it was this right here. It was this little one product, one source. And I got clear on it. And what happens is when you have that level of focus, you can learn so much more about your seeker. and you can develop things at different levels to serve them. So what I did in 2007 is I just simply focused on doing live seminars in the Mary Kay world, and everything else worked. Everything else worked. And we exploded that year. But it was weird because we didn't explode until we got really clear with a narrow focus. And I think inherently people tend to think that they need to have a bunch of different products. They need to be able to have a book and a coaching program and a website and a sales page. And that kind of complication actually will severely hinder your chances of finding your clicking point. You will be able to find your clicking point faster, and it will be much more powerful the more narrow the focus. And I know that's counterintuitive to most people, but that's what I experience myself, and that's what I see all the time. I know people who have one product and a seven-figure business. They just got clear. They learned how to perfect this little equation right here. One product plus one source. That's it. And I know that doesn't fit with the way that we're usually taught and the way that we think we've got to be complicated. But that's your clicking point. Now, I don't know that your clicking point will actually be one product and it will actually be one source. But what I know is that it has to be narrow in focus. So maybe it's two products, maybe it's three products, and maybe it's one or two sources, but it's got to be narrow. What I'm telling you is that one product and one source is good enough. And the narrower your focus, the more narrow you can get, the more powerful you will become, the more powerful your clicking point will be. All right, I have a question here. Please expand on we. What was your organization like? Oh, yeah, when I'm talking about we, here was my organization. We, meaning me and my wife. That was we. We did over $300,000 that year, primarily with just me and my wife. Now, later on that year, when we started making a lot of money, we just got to the point where we couldn't handle the business. We ended up hiring 2 full-time employees. But we were making multiple six figures before we did that. And I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding that your organization has to be full of, full-time employees and people doing a lot of stuff in an office, and it doesn't. It just has to, you got to be clear. And once you're clear and you find that clicking point, what you can create is tremendous. Okay, another question. Can you say again what the source is? Yeah, what I mean by that is what's your traffic source? So for me, the traffic source, the source of prospects, was the Mary Kay world. And I found a couple places online where they were searching, and I was placing ads in these certain places online where they went to. So you want to find where are those places, whether it's joint ventures, maybe you do. I know, I know somebody who made seven figures. Not that that's super impressive, but just to give you an example, seven figures just doing webinars for joint venture people. So all he was doing was webinars for other people's communities. And that's all he did. He made seven figures doing just that. So for you, that might be some kind of online, resource. It's going to be probably one of, if I go back to the slide, it's going to be probably one of these pieces. One of these pieces of your consistent traffic. It could be social media, it could be your content marketing, it could be SEO, JVs, paid advertising. Now, I want you to try all of those, or at least most of those. But what's going to happen is you're going to find a clicking point where you realize that the majority of your results come from the minority of your efforts. That's the 80-20 rule, right? Where 80-20 of your efforts come from, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And that's where you're going to spend more of your time on that 20%. And that's the clicking point for you. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to look like for you, but I know each and every one of us, with patience and persistence, can find that clicking point. Here's the process that I teach in terms of just staying in the game and staying committed to that clicking point is check, choose, and churn. And what I mean by check is continually test the sources of traffic that you have, test whether your ads are working properly, test your conversions, and then choose to make little changes. Generally from a marketing perspective, we want to change one thing at a time, and that's it, one variable at a time, and keep churning. You got to stay persistent. You got to keep going. You got to stay committed to your seeker and stay committed to finding this clarity. And when you do that, what you'll find is you'll be marketing mostly. What a lot of people do, and I've gotten into this place in several different periods of my business where I'm creating content a lot and I'm delivering content a lot, but I'm not marketing. And the more you market, the more success you'll have, period. That's end of discussion. The more you market, the more success you'll have. But a lot of people, because they're not clear on all the things we've been talking about up until this point, they don't have the luxury of putting most of their energy into marketing because they don't know all of these other pieces yet. And because you don't have all these other pieces yet, you can't focus primarily on marketing. You're too busy trying to find out who your seeker is, or you're trying to find out what your product is and so forth. But this is a magical moment when you can spend most of your time marketing instead of most of your time deciding what to do, or most of your time creating content, right? And once you can just put the marketing focus in place, man, now it's explosion time. And like I said, that's what happened to us in early of 2007. That's when we exploded because we got clear and then we were able to market, and market. Now, the final piece here isn't necessarily something that you do in terms of the way that these other 10 pieces are, but along the way, you've got to constantly have support. You've got to have support from people who are sending out your information to their communities in the form of joint ventures and affiliates. You've got to have support for yourself personally in the form of masterminds and mentors who are going to continue to, allow you to bounce ideas back and forth off them and to give you insight that you didn't have and perspectives that you don't have and so forth. And then finally, you've really got to make sure that along this way, you've got people who are supporting your own personal growth and you've got guidance. If you don't have this constant support, I hate to sound negative, but I will because that's what's in my heart right now. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to succeed if you don't have constant support. If you try to do this alone on your own, it's just not going to work. I've never seen it work for anybody. So it's up to you to create that support. It's up to you to get into environments that are going to help you along the way. And that's where, ultimately you're going to lead to this success, whatever that means for you, whatever full-time means for you, or whatever abundance means for you, you've got to follow a game plan. And this is a culmination of 7 years in this business for me personally and a lot of my clients of what are the steps that it actually takes to build something substantial and something you can take out to the marketplace, right? Now, let me allude to, or let me share with you these 6-figure formulas. And the reason I think this is important is because, as I said earlier, a lot of people think that reaching 6 figures is really difficult and it's got to be super complicated, but it really doesn't have to be. And especially when you find the clicking point and you've done all the work that I've talked to you about so far, it'll be a lot easier to focus in on one of these 3 things or something different. But these are the 3 things that I would want you to start with at least. It's a lot easier to focus in and start amplifying these formulas. So if you take a look at coaching, if you have a coaching package that's $2,500, and that's a very reasonable 6-month coaching program. If you got 40 clients over the course of an entire year, if you were marketing, if you were doing all the things that I've been telling you, if you were doing the consultations, and you got 40 clients over the course of a year, that's a $100,000 coaching practice just by itself. If you didn't do any coaching and all you did was seminars, and let's say you created a $500 2-day seminar, and that's all you focused your entire energy on for the whole year, and you got 200 people to attend this seminar, which isn't, incredibly difficult, you would have $100,000 just on seminars alone. That's with nothing else. If you only wanted to sell products and you had a $100 home study course, let's say, or a $100 teleseminar series, and you got 1,000 sales, that would be $100,000. Now, I want you to understand, a lot of people really think that their way to six figures is by selling a bunch of products. And I want you to see that that's actually harder. I'll tell you right now, it's probably 10 times easier to sell 40 coaching programs at $2,500 a piece to your specific seeker. It's 10 times easier to do that than it is to find 1,000 people that are going to pay $100 for your product. There's just way too many things that you've got to set up in products and delivery and websites and all of that stuff. But I think too many people focus on the complicated piece. They focus on the things that are actually harder to do, such as selling products. If I had somebody that came to me and said, "Hey, I need to make $10,000 before the end of the month," I would not have them create any products. I would not have them sell any seminars. I would have them get on the phone with people and do consultations. I would give them the consultation flow, and I would say, "You do 10 consultations, and I bet you have that dollar amount." Not that that's what it's about, but if somebody had a gun to their head and they needed to make $10,000, I would push them toward this top one rather than the bottom one. But what I find is that most people go the slow route and they try to do the bottom, and then they do seminars, and then finally they get into coaching packages. And I'll just tell you, it's a lot easier to sell high dollar coaching packages than it is to sell low dollar products. It just is, especially when you really understand who your seeker is. We have a question on here that says, can you elaborate on how to discover your seeker? There's really a two-part process that I teach. One of them is for you to just sit down and identify who it is that you think is out there needing this information. And a lot of times it's just going to be an earlier version of yourself. And then the second step is to actually do interviews with people who fit that profile and continually ask them questions about what it is that they're wanting and what do they, what are their challenges and what are they really searching for in life. I call them seeker interviews. The more seeker interviews you make, the more clients you'll have, period. I mean, it's not that difficult. I actually laid out a challenge to people in one of my coaching programs. I said, if you do 7 consultations and you do not get a client, you call me and I will coach you for free until you do. I've never seen it happen. You do 7 consultations, people are hiring you. Even if you don't do it properly, people will hire you if you do consultations. So that's a clear way to just start getting cash flow, to start getting confidence and getting clients. Oh, that sounds like a pretty cool title. Confidence, cash flow, and clients. Confidence, clients, and cash flow, whatever it is. I love this piece. I want to share with you this pendulum effect. And what it is, it's the mental game, because as I said, it's the inner game that stops most people. And if you imagine that there's this pendulum swinging from one side to the other, and on the left side is all the failure that we're trying to avoid. It's the fear, it's the risk, it's the doubt. And on the right side, it's the success that we're all wanting to experience, the happiness, the comfort, the freedom, the money, all of those things. Most people are trying to avoid everything on the left and trying to experience everything on the right. But here's how success works, especially as an entrepreneur. If you imagine this pendulum goes the same distance basically from one side to the left, what you have to understand is that if you want to achieve a certain level of success, you've got to push the pendulum equally to the left. And in fact, the only way that you can push the pendulum is to the left. The only way you can push the pendulum is toward failure, meaning you can only take action in the direction of your fear, in the direction of your doubts, in the direction of your perceived risks. And that is the only way that you will actually achieve any level of success. Too many people are trying to achieve success without facing their fears, without facing their doubts. And I would actually suggest that the only way to be successful is to risk the very things that you doubt, is to risk the very things that you're afraid of. That's the only way to be successful, is you've got to push the pendulum as far as you can to the left. You've got to get in motion. You've got to risk people telling you no. You've got to risk the quote unquote failure. And in time, that pendulum will swing equally to the left. And you will achieve the success and you will achieve the freedom and the comfort and all the things that you want. But only if you push the pendulum to the left. So when you have doubt that shows up, when you have fears that show up, when you have risks that show up, those are not signs for you to stop. Those are signs for you to take action on whatever it is that's scaring you. Take action on that thing, because your fear lies at the edge of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is what's keeping you from your dreams. So if you ever want a surefire way to achieve your dreams, it is to find your fears and challenge them. Charge toward your fears. That's the best way you're ever going to achieve any of your goals and any of your dreams, is to act in the direction of the things that are scaring you. In other words, push the pendulum to the left. Now, the most important concept I can leave you with is really, it's a mental concept, and it's simply this: go, take action. Nothing ever happens without taking action. You've got to start pedaling, and I think a lot of people are stuck in this place where they're trying to learn how to ride a bike without pushing the pedals. And I don't care if you're a Cirque du Soleil circus performer, you're going to have a hard time balancing a bike that's not moving. But you can be a little kid like the girl in this photo. You can push those pedals and learn as you go. You will get the balance just simply by the by the movement. So you've got to pedal. Don't be on the sidelines waiting for the right time to get in. You've got to just keep going, and you've got to keep spinning. I love this analogy. If you're a potter, if you're into pottery, I think that's what this is called. You can create the most beautiful vase in the world if the table, if the pottery table or pottery wheel or whatever it's called is spinning. All you got to do is put your finger in there and it'll make this amazing indentation, and it's beautiful and it's smooth. But if your wheel is not spinning, can you imagine how hard it's going to be to make a vase? So you got to start pedaling and you got to keep spinning. You just got to jump in. I love this picture. This kid's like, I don't care how warm or cold the water is. I'm in. Let's go. Belly flop. Psh, splash. The only way you can learn how to swim is to jump in the water. And I'll never tell you that this journey is going to be easy, because it's not. You're an entrepreneur, and this industry is not the easiest industry in the world. But what I'll tell you is that it's going to be worth it. There's nothing like helping people achieve things in their life. There's nothing like the fulfillment, the joy that you'll get for helping people better their lives. And I'm sure many of you have already had that experience. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be drawn to personal development in general. You wouldn't be drawn to this webinar specifically. It's not about going the easy route. It's about finding that route in your life that's worth bleeding on, that's worth staying on, that's worth fighting for. That's who I want to hang out with. And I hope you want to hang out with people like that too. I want to hang out with people that are in for the long haul. I don't want to hang out with people who are in for the quick fix, who are looking for the magic bullet, because those people never find what they're looking for, because those things don't exist. I want to hang out with the people that say, you know what, I don't care how long this journey is going to be. I know it's going to be worth it, and I'm in. I'm in, and I will fight until I'm done. I will either be on top of that mountain or I will die climbing. One of the two. Those are the people that I want to hang out with, and I hope those are the people that you want to hang out with too. And if you're in it for the long haul, what I've learned is that your journey is going to be a lot faster. But when you're in it for the quick fix, your journey is going to be slower, it's going to be more painful, and what you're trying to achieve on this planet will probably elude you. And I love this quote by one of my clients, Pooja. She's in India, and she says, "I doubled my income last year. I spoke in front of, uh, tons of people. I had numerous keynote talks with major corporations, but what I really got, what she says, is outside of the business, I had the time freedom to take a 15-day vacation in New Zealand, to build the courage to overcome some of my fears like bungee jumping and skydiving. And what I really cherish is becoming a better parent and wife and daughter in the process, and living a life of joy and peace. And I now know I can do anything that I put my heart to." And the reason I really like this quote from Pooja is, in the beginning, she was focused on making the money. And in this story, she just totally poo-poos the money. It's like, yeah, I doubled my income, spoke much more. Who cares? This is what I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the time I spent with my husband. I enjoyed the time I spent with my kids, with my parents. And that is really what this whole journey is about. Yeah, you can make a ton of money, but what really is going to fulfill you from the inside out is the connection that you have with people, your clients, with your spouses, with your children. It's the connection you have with yourself. And I can attest to that. I told you we made some pretty big dollar amounts early on, but I wasn't fulfilled when I was just working too much. I wasn't fulfilled as a business owner that was just working himself to death in my previous businesses. But I'm totally fulfilled with playing with people that really get it, and playing with people that know that there's a higher calling than just making money. So I hope that you really resonate with that, because the more that you focus on making money, the less fulfilled you're going to be. So it's cool, it's cute, it's sexy to make a bunch of money, but in reality, what are you here to do? And the more that you're committed to what you're here to do, more than your commitment to making money, the more money you're going to make. And I think in life, you really have two choices. You can go it on your own and you can try to reinvent the wheel from scratch. You can spend a lot of time and energy and money and try to figure it out and put it all together yourself. Or you can latch on to a game that's already been won for you. You can tap into a framework. You can shorten your learning curve. You can, basically learn from the people who have gone before you, and you can eliminate a lot of those mistakes that are painful, that are costly, that, cause a lot of people to quit. And you can speed up your journey towards success. And you can learn from people. Here's the key. You can learn from people who've not only done what you want to do, but more importantly than that, you can learn from people who have made the mistakes that you want to avoid. I've done some cool things in this industry, but the most valuable time in my business was in 2008 and 2009, when I was imploding and I was coming face to face with all of my own fears and inadequacies, and I ended up filing bankruptcy. That is the most valuable period of my entire business. And that's how I can help people avoid those pitfalls, on this map, help you avoid those danger zones, the skulls with the crossbones, right? It's about avoiding those mistakes, because the mistakes being avoided are more important than the successes being created. The successes are going to happen, but it's the mistakes that might knock you out of the game. You can't afford in the beginning part of your business to make a $30,000 mistake. I've made those. You can't afford to get into a situation where it's a loss. Like, there's no way that this is going to work, right? So it's about really knowing how to avoid some of these mistakes and shorten your learning curve. So this is my life's work in the coaching world. It's all about creating this guideline, this just do this approach for coaches. And I said that I want you to just complete one thing before going on to the other. So I want you to get certain, and then let's talk about your consultation strategy. And once you have that, now let's talk about your conversions, right? And once you have that, now let's talk about your cornerstone product and program. So it's about having a guide and creating something that you can grow with as well. And there are three main things that you've got to have. I alluded to support. You've also got to have constant guidance, And the most important piece is you've got to be implementing. You've got to have some kind of system that focuses on implementation. In my company, we spend more of our effort and energy and money and resources and time on answering this question: how can we help people get better results? Not how can we sell people our programs. I'm not the kind of guy who cares about how many conversions I get, how many people buy my stuff. What I care about is how many people are implementing this. I put more effort and emphasis after the sale than before the sale, because that's what I care more about. If you don't implement anything that I teach, then all of my teachings are basically meaningless and useless. So we spend hours and hours as a team focused on where are people falling down? Where are they dropping the ball? What can we do to help guide them better? What can we do to help them implement better? And that's what you see in front of you. You see years of focused on what can we give people that they can just simply follow. And so hopefully this has been valuable from a content perspective, and you're probably sitting there thinking, something along the lines of, wow, this is a lot of stuff to do, right? And you're right. As much as I want to simplify it, you're right. This is a lot of stuff to do because you're in business. We're talking about a very big game that you're being invited to play. You're being invited by your calling to play a very big game in a very meaningful place in other people's lives. And that's not anything to brush over. That's not anything to sneeze at. This is a big game, and big games require big effort. And big games require big commitment. So this is a lot of stuff to do. You're making a decision to jump into a new career, or at the very least, take your current career to a new level. And I totally admire that. And I really honor you for doing that. And I want to support you however I can. And as I've said several times, this process will not be easy. I am not the guy who will ever sell you easy, but I'm the guy who will support you when it gets tough. That's the difference. I will never tell you this is some turnkey approach. All you've got to do is buy my thing, push a couple buttons on your website, and all of a sudden you got all kinds of, people that are wanting to pay you money, and you got all this money flooding into you. Here's my advice to you. When you hear programs like that, turn around and run as fast as you possibly can. And I really hold this industry with high regard. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of marketers out there have dumbed it down because people buy simple, quick, and easy. People buy success with no effort, right? That's what people buy. People want to buy the lottery ticket to where they don't have to put any effort into something, and yet they get a lot of things out. And if that's the kind of journey that you want to be on, then I'm definitely not your guy. I don't subscribe to the lottery mentality. I don't suggest you play that game, especially in business of any kind. I suggest you play the let's roll up our sleeves and do whatever we've got to do and get dirty and have a lot of fun in the process, in doing something significant, in making a difference, in leaving your mark on this planet. And if you're not willing to jump in and roll your sleeves up to make your mark on this planet, then I don't know, I wouldn't bet on you. You've got to be willing to jump in. You've got to have that determination. You've got to have that commitment, and that requires effort. And if you're thinking, I don't know if I can do it on my own, that's the real question that you've got to look at truthfully. Because I don't know anybody who has ever done this on their own. I know a lot of people who are trying to be the first person to do this on their own, to just window shop and figure out, how to do all this stuff on their own. But this industry is an ever-evolving industry, and quite frankly and quite honestly, it's very difficult to do this on your own. And I've been there. That's why I'm passionate about this. I've been there. I know the challenges. I know the pitfalls. I know the internal fears that you're going to come up against. I know the struggle, right? And that's the whole reason I can help, because I've been in those trenches. And it's because of my bankruptcy, and it's because of my mistakes, and it's because of all the pitfalls and the painful periods that I'm so passionate about this. So what I've done is I've basically created the program that I wish I would have had when I was starting out, that would have kept so much more of the money in my bank account, would have kept me from hitting all of those, valleys along the way, and a lot of that pain, and a lot of the challenges along the way. And so what we've created is a just do this guide for you to follow. We want to walk beside you and help you do something significant in this industry. So I want to tell you about this program. It's called the Marketing Mastery for Coaches program. And one of the things that makes this program different is that it's really an extension of coach-centered, heart-based work. This is a lifelong community of people who are living transformation. Transformation isn't something that happens to you. Transformation is really something that you commit to, and it's a way of life. It's about transformation from the inside out. And all of this work is specifically for coaches. And when I say coaches, I don't mean necessarily you've got to do one-on-one coaching. Although if that's what you want to do, that's fine too. But I think anybody who shares their message with people is a coach, whether it's speeches or seminars that you do, or whatever form of teaching you do, you're a coach. And so it all falls under this coaching umbrella. And everything I teach is from a coach's spin. And what I mean by that is there's programs that I've bought in the past that are, let's say, internet marketing courses, but they're internet marketing courses being taught by internet marketers on how to market internet marketing, basically, right? And I had to translate some of that. It's like, well, that doesn't fit for coaching, because the way you sell an internet marketing coach or program is different than the way you would sell a coaching program, or the way you would sell a real estate program is different. And you don't have to create the same amount of trust with your clients when you're selling a product that's just going to teach them how to make money in a certain market. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about those other things. I'm just saying it's different. The coaching world is unique. There must be connection. There must be trust. You've got to show up for people. You've got to be authentic. As a coach, you are going to be called forth to a higher level of authenticity and transparency than anybody else just selling something, just pitching a product. So this is a unique industry, and it's important that you really see all of this marketing and all of these, phases through a coaching perspective. Another thing that we've put a lot of energy into, as I've said, is a just do this sequential approach. Once you follow this phase and you complete it, then do this phase. Don't get ahead of yourself. That leads to frustration. It leads to confusion. It leads to overwhelm when you just try to get ahead of yourself. You've got to complete each phase of the process first. And each phase is simple, and they're layered strategically from the ground up to help you, whether you're starting a business from scratch, or whether you're just wanting to go into a new market, or you're just wanting to take it to a whole new level. It's really designed, how can you do this strategically, step by step? And as I said, most of my resources and energy are spent on implementation, and we are doing live events. And at these live events, you're not going to be learning what to do. You're going to be completing these phases. Basically, all of those phases that I just walked you through on this marketing map, you're going to complete all of those pieces in the Marketing Mastery for Coaches program. So if you choose to play with us, we are going to guide you through each of those pieces. We're not just going to teach you what to do so you can go home and then do them, because my experience is that's where things fall apart. That's where people go home, they get overwhelmed, they have questions, they don't really know how this fits to, how this relates to them. And it's easy to take information, then go home and sit on that information without actually doing it. But when you come to our events, you're going to be doing videos at the events. You're going to be doing teleseminars at the events. You're going to be doing webinars at the events. You're going to be putting things online at the events. You're going to be getting in motion. You're going to be implementing at our events, so that you don't have to go home and start something. Your job will be to go home and continue something that has already been started at the events. Now, if you want more information on your own, I'm going to walk you through some of the details of the program here in a moment. But if you want more information on your own, this is the website. It's fulltimecoachproject.com/MMC. And what that stands for is Marketing Mastery for Coaches. And what I'm going to do is I just sent it to everybody in the chat window, fulltimecoachproject.com, because I'm going to move ahead here. But if you want to go to that website and look at it on your own, you can. But let me give you some of the high-level logistics. The majority of this program is about 2 5-day experiential, implementational, immersion mastermind events. So each event is 5 days. I will bring my video equipment. I will bring my lights. We're going to be doing work in the room, and it's going to be an immersion. Now, we're going to pace you along the way so that you are ready to get in motion, meaning your websites are going to have to be created. We have a full website template for you that we'll give you if you don't have a website. If you do have a website, you can just, simplify using this one or make sure that your website has these pieces. But we're going to give you a website. We're going to pace you to have the pieces in place to get the things done at the events online. And we're going to help you do teleseminars. As I said, we're going to help you do videos. We're going to walk you through all of this at the event so that you can be fully in motion. And I can't tell you how powerful that's going to be. These events, the first one's coming up quick. The first one is April 29th through May 3rd. It's in Denver, Colorado. This is a Monday through Friday. And we are going to go deep. I mean, we're talking 45, 50, 55 hours of implementation. I mean, just imagine where your business would be if you stopped everything and spent 55 hours just doing, right? 55 hours implementing in a supportive environment where you can get your questions answered. Just imagine the steps that you'd be able to take going forward. And the other thing I want you to know about these events is they are highly individualized as much as we possibly can. So there will be time where I might be working with you one-on-one while another member of my team is working with a small group of 3 in getting their websites up, because that's where they all are. And then another person is working with 5 or 6 people in a certain area. So not everybody's going to show up in the exact same phase of their business. And we are committed to making sure that you get out of this event, these 2 events, what you want out of them, which means we've got to find out where you are, and we've got to specifically create curriculum that will help you wherever you are go forward in your business. So not everybody's going to be on the same page, which means not everybody's necessarily going to be doing the exact same things at this event. We might have some people that are ready to do a video launch campaign, and they're in one room filming videos, and another person is putting up their website because that's where they are. So wherever you are, we're going to serve you as best as we possibly can at these events. And the second event is in September. It's in Orlando, Florida. Again, it's a Monday through Friday event. Same kind of strategy. So over the course of these 10 days, here's my promise to you. My intention is over the course of these 10 days, stretched out throughout the entire year, with follow-up calls in between the events, with pacing calls leading up to the events, but all culminating over the course of the entire year. What my intention and my promise to you is, we are going to take you through this marketing map that I've already laid out for you. All you've got to do is keep up. That's all you got to do. You got to keep up. We'll get you there. Right? Now, keep up doesn't necessarily mean you've got to keep up the speed at which we're moving. I'm not trying to say that we're going to make you go really fast. You're going to go at whatever pace you want to go at, but keep up means don't quit. If you don't quit and you just persevere and you just let us help you go from one step to the next, at the end of this year, and you just keep up with us, at the end of this year, or maybe even sooner than that, you will have all of these pieces in place. And when you have these pieces in place, you have the foundation for a high level, multiple 6 figures, incredibly fulfilling coaching business. That's my promise to you. You just keep up with us and we'll get you there, right? You're going to have monthly support and mentorship calls. Well, I will be getting on the phone personally and answering any questions that you have for the entire year. So this is a year-long program. It's just these are the 2 times that we're going to be getting together with each other. Now, let me tell you about some of the bonuses for this program. Number one, I talked about this customizable website. It's really more than a website. It's a marketing machine for coaches. It's a website template, but it's also it's got all the marketing side behind it. It's got conversions built into it. Your opt-in box is placed strategically in the area that it should be, that's optimized for people coming to your site and joining your list. We're going to customize your site specifically for your particular niche and for your particular products, but we're also going to have the intention of getting people on the site and driving them to coaching consultations. All of that is strategically built into what are they seeing when they get on their site? What is their attention gravitating toward? Where are we guiding them on their site? And it's all intentionally designed to create connection and get them on coaching consultations and build your list. Everything that we've been talking about is coming to life in your customizable template. This is totally free for you when you join the Marketing Mastery for Coaches. By itself, it'd be a $3,000 value. But I paid my web designer to create a template that I can give to anybody who joins my high-level programs. So this is going to be something that you can just have. A part of that is going to be a 1-hour website systems and strategy consultation with the web designer, Mark, which is a $500 value on its own. But that's where you decide what colors are you going to create, where can you move things around that's specific to your industry. Maybe you put different tabs on it, or maybe you take certain tabs away that's customized specifically for you. So you're going to have a customization consultation with Mark so that you can have this marketing machine for coaches. On top of this, I'm going to give you my cornerstone product, which is called the Full-Time Coach Project. And what that is a series of 16 modules that walk you through a lot of the earlier phases that I was mentioning. How to find your seeker. You have all the documents to get clarity on who your seeker is, to do the seeker interviews. I give you a whole questionnaire that you just show up and you follow the questions and you'll get what you need to get from an information standpoint with your seekers. You get clarity on what your purpose is. You get clarity on what your money purpose is. What are you doing? How can you create the foundational aspects of your business? How can you create the positioning for who you are? It's the foundational clarity that most people don't have. And the Full-Time Coach Project is really where you'll get the majority of those foundational pieces. Now, the Full-Time Coach Project also goes into marketing. We talk about how to put together a teleseminar program, how to promote your teleseminar program, how to deliver your programs. We talk about webinars. We talk about social media. We talk about all of the doing parts of the marketing as well. But it's really the foundational principles that the Full-Time Coach Project will give you that leads to the certainty that most people don't have, right? So it's a lot of what I've been talking about, this marketing map, but with a high focus on the earlier phases. And that by itself is a $1,000 value. You're also going to get one ticket, listen to this, to a 5-day speakers training. You'll notice that I've got a thing with 5 days. I think it takes a good chunk of your time to really get out of your current environments and do a deep dive into changing your life. So we've got a 5-day speakers training on how to captivate your crowd. How can you come alive from stage? How can you come alive in your interactions with people? How can you become more influential? How can you be more persuasive? How can you create a better connection with your crowd, whether it's an audience of 1 or an audience of 1,000 or more? It doesn't matter. I'm doing this event with 2 of my best friends and 2 of the people who I think are the best, are some of the best speakers in the industry. One of them is a guy named Tony McGee, and he, I think, he's my favorite speaker on the entire planet. He is my favorite speaker. I've seen him take crowds who are stiff and just loosen them up in a matter of minutes, and he is amazing. So I've asked him if he'll teach with me on this event. And the other one is a gentleman named Romeo Marquez Jr. Very similar. He just comes alive on stage. He's actually an acting coach, and one of his greatest skills is to teach people how to come alive in front of a camera. So for all of you that are doing videos, this is huge for you to get into your body and to come alive and to captivate whoever's watching you on the other side of that camera. But a lot of the same principles transfer over into stage speaking as well. So what we're going to do at this event, we're going to break down your speaking, and we're going to layer in speaking concepts and tools from the bottom up, so that we're going to break down all of your fears and all of your just reservations around speaking. We're going to layer in these speaking skills one at a time over the course of these 5 days, to where at the end of these 5 days, you have so much confidence oozing out of your body. You have all of the skill sets that you need to come alive on stage, and you're going to be so much more of a profound communicator and connector having gone through this event. This is I haven't been as excited about an event as this one in a long, long time. You probably heard my energy get really high about that. Another thing that you're going to get, I'm going to give you all of my personal development products for free. Now, I literally have over 100 personal development products, and I don't want to overwhelm you with all of them, but you're going to get access to a website where you have all of my personal development products that you can either use for yourself. I have a CD called Erase the Waste that will allow you to get rid of all of your limiting beliefs. You can just keep plugging in the CD every time a limiting belief comes up, and you can just pop them away one right after the other. I have another CD called Anchor Your Success that teaches you how to basically create connections in your body with any state of mind that you want. It's an anchoring process. I've got CDs on emotional mastery. I've got tons of CDs with almost every possible topic in the personal development world that you can have to experience yourself personally, but you can also use them as a model for your own coaching business. Maybe you take a look at my packaging, or you take a look at the way we sell it, or you take a look at the way I deliver it, or you just use the model however you want, whether it's things that you want to follow, or things that you definitely want to avoid based on what I do and how I do it. But it's a really valuable process, or a really valuable component rather, to have all of these products for free that, on their own, if you bought them, would be well over $1,000. You're also going to get 12 months access to my Eagles Club membership program. That's an ongoing coaching program that I do every single month. Again, you can use it for your personal benefit, but you can also use it as a model, because one of the best things you can do in your business is to create ongoing revenue streams. We call them recurring income. So you can use that as a model for setting up your own program. You're also going to have lifetime access to all the related upgrades of the website, all forums, all support communities going forward. You'll have lifetime access to that. You're going to get early announcements on all my programs and products. I'm basically wanting to give you everything you need to explode your business from a confidence perspective, from a marketing tactical perspective, from a speaking skill set perspective, everything you need to really go after it. Now, I also have a couple FAT bonuses, and that stands for Fast Action Taker. Here are your FAT bonuses. For the first 5 people that join this program, I'm going to give you 2 things. I'm going to give you anytime and always access to all Marketing Mastery events forever in the future. And here's why I'm excited about that, and here's what it means to you. This game of marketing changes constantly. The industry of coaching changes. And I know that I will change. I will learn new things constantly along the way. So what would it be like if you could come back at any time? All you need to do is just let me know. There will be no charge for you. You can come back at any time forever, as long as I'm doing these Marketing Mastery events. You can come back anytime and refresh your memory on certain things, get back into implementation phase, learn any of the new things that we don't even know about right now. I mean, in 5 years from now, can you imagine what the marketing world is going to be like? Can you imagine the tools that are going to be available out there? Well, anytime that I learn anything new, I'm going to teach it, and you can come back all the time and experience it. You're going to have anytime and always access to all of the phone calls going forward. This is basically me opening up my community to you forever going forward to attend any of the live events. And then also, you're going to have a just private coaching call with me, one-on-one, and we'll go through whatever you want to go through. I'll help you however I can, either before the events or after the events. And on its own, if you were to just do a 1 hour coaching call with me, it'd be $1,000. And you can use that to support yourself in this journey, however you possibly can. And we have a triple your investment guarantee. Here's my guarantee. I am so confident that when you put these pieces in place, you're going to have a rock solid investment that I will guarantee that you're going to make at least $15,000. So here's the guarantee. When you implement what we teach in the Marketing Mastery for Coaches program, and remember, all you've got to do is keep up. Don't quit. Let us pace you through all of these pieces. And at the end of the year, you will have all of these things. All you got to do is keep up, right? When you do that, we guarantee that you'll make at least $15,000 in gross income. If you don't, I will personally coach you for free until you do. So basically what that means is when you say yes, when you commit, you're going to make 15 grand. And if you don't, I won't stop until you do. So in this program, either on your own through the guidance of this or with my own personal guidance, you're going to make $15,000. And it's the best way I can, virtually guarantee your success. I mean, obviously I can't guarantee who's going to pay you. I can't guarantee when it's going to happen, but I can guarantee that I will support you until it does happen. So that's the guarantee. Obviously, if you kind of work backwards mathematically, that's the triple your investment guarantee. The investment on the program is $4,997. There's also a payment plan of 3 payments of just $1,800. If that makes it easier for you to digest, then let's go. And let me tell you about my mission again. I told you before that I'm on this mission to create 1,000 full-time, highly successful coaches who are fulfilling their purpose, getting their message out in the world, have a lucrative business, time freedom, money freedom, everything that they want. That's my mission. If this sounds like you, awesome. That's great. If it's not for you, awesome. That's great too. If it's not for you, hopefully you've gotten something of value out of this and it's going to improve your life or your business in some way, shape, or form. But if this is for you, if this is resonating for you, if you've got a lump in your throat knowing that this is, the next step that you want to take, if you're getting emotional, if you're having fears, right, about I really want to do it, but I'm afraid to, that's probably a sign that that you should take action in the face of that fear. If you want to be a part of this journey, if you want my support and the support of my team and our guidance, then let's go. Let's do it. Here's my little animated transition here. Let's go. Right? Hold on. It'll get going in a moment. All right. Let's go. If that's you, then, let's go. We'd love to have you in the program. The significant question for you to ask right now is not what's the cost of taking action, because you can easily talk yourself out of everything when you look at how much money is it going to cost, how much time is it going to cost, how much time away from my family is it going to cost. The really significant question that the most successful people ask is, what's the cost of not taking action? It's when I ask myself, how many people am I not helping because I'm sitting on my hands? That's what really got me in motion. It's, what is it costing you not to take action? That's the bigger question. So if this is for you, jump in. The website, you can see there's a -2 on here. It's either one of them. You can just go to MMC at the end, or you can do MMC-2. But if this is for you, then let's go. If it's not for you, great. In order to get your free recording that I alluded to at the beginning of the teleseminar, at the beginning of the webinar rather, just send me an email at sean@coachseansmith.com. In the subject line, put recording and template, please. And what I'll do is I'll send you the recording when it's ready. It'll take me a little while to edit it and get it ready. I'll send you the recording, and I'll also send you the persuasion template that I mentioned earlier. It's a 15-step persuasion template. And all you've got to do is send me an email and ask for it, and I will shoot it off to you guys. So listen, a lot of you are still on live, and I appreciate you for that. And, we've been on the line here for a couple hours. Hopefully you've gotten something of value out of this. If you have a question about the program, about any of the content that I taught, about anything at all, then go ahead and type it in the questions box right now. And I'll answer whatever questions You have, yeah. So one question is, what is your email address? I'm going to type it into the chat box here. Sean at coachseansmith.com. Whoops. Sean at coachseansmith.com. So I'll leave that slide up here for a little bit. Anybody else have a question about anything at all on tonight's webinar? Questions, comments, concerns? Or are you complete for now? Cool. Ian says, none for me. I'm complete. All right. Well, listen, if we're complete for now, then we'll go ahead and wrap up this presentation. I hope it's been valuable for you. If it's, speaking to you, that would be fantastic. If you have any questions at all, you can email me specifically at that email address and ask any, clarifying questions if it's right for you, or if you have any implementation questions and so forth. As I said, my intention and my passion and my commitment is to pace you into having a foundationally built business of success. I know that's kind of a generic word, but you've got to have the foundational piece. It's got to be strategic, and you need guidance. And if I'm not that guy for you, great. But I don't want your question to be whether you get help or not. I want your question to be who you're going to get help from. If you're resonating with me, awesome. Let's lock arms and let's do it. If you're not resonating with me and you resonate more with somebody else, awesome. Go sign up with their thing, but get help. Whatever that looks like to you, get help. Don't try to do this on your own. It's just going to slow down the process. So if I can be of service to you, let us know, jump on board, or send me an email. And if not, I can contribute to you in any way, shape, or form. Please, maintain your place in our community. I'm going to continue to contribute and give you resources and videos and all that stuff. But this is the best thing I can possibly do for your business, is spending 10 days together and really, take you to and pace you through and guide you to a whole nother level. So with that, everybody, I'm going to sign off. I appreciate your attendance and your energy and your attention. And if there's anything I can do to help, let me know going forward. Take care, everybody. Good night.